Hello and welcome to the Rogers Brief. I'm Adam Rogers. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. I'm going to be talking a little bit about day 49 of the Mass Casualty Commission proceedings, which ended just around 1 o'clock p.m. Today, Monday the 18th of July. So after the drama of last week, where the week culminated in the evidence of Lisa Banfield, and then next week, which is going to feature the evidence of some of the senior RCMP officers in Nova Scotia, Darren Campbell, Chris Leather, and Lee Bergerman, as well, actually won't be here, but in Ottawa, the hearings of the Public Safety Committee in Parliament. This week is a little bit slower in terms of content and in terms of, I think, sort of newsworthy or interesting features. There will be some tomorrow. There's going to be a witness, Constable Troy Maxwell, who was the officer identified as the one to whom Brenda Forbes gave some reports, and so we'll hear from him. We'll also hear about the what are labeled as the financial misdealings of the perpetrator, Gabriel Wortman. So we'll see where that goes. I know that they're going to talk about some, cash dealings that he had with his denturist business. But I wonder, I doubt, but I wonder if they might get into other issues of his, ties to criminal elements, potential RCMP, cash dealings, all those sorts of things. Wouldn't hold out any hope, but we'll see what happens in the foundational document, the final foundational document that's going to be released tomorrow, and there'll be a presentation on all that. Today, before I talk about today, I'll just mention I was on the Nighttime podcast last night with Jordan Bonaparte. He does a great job of this. It was a doubleheader yesterday myself. I started things off, and then Jordan also spoke with author Paul Palango, who would be familiar to many as well. So that was a live YouTube event last night. The video will be posted, I expect, either today or tomorrow, sometime soon, and then it'll be posted as a podcast as well. I will post that on my Twitter and Facebook feeds. So the Facebook is just the Rogers Brief. You can look that up. Twitter, it's Adam Rogers NS. That's Rogers with a D. Anyway, okay, so that was that's sort of admin stuff and setting things up. Now today it was a panel discussion, another panel discussion about intimate partner violence, gender-based violence, domestic violence. It was called Mass Casualties, IPV, GBV and Family Violence, Exploring the Connections. IPV, intimate partner violence, GBV, gender-based violence and family violence. So yes, exploring the connections. There was 7 people, 7 doctors, PhDs that were discussing this, and guess what? All of those things are connected. Who knew? So the participants were Dr. Wendy Kukier from Toronto Metropolitan University, formerly known as Ryerson in Toronto, Dr. Amanda Dale, who is a legal scholar and consultant, Dr. Myrna Dawson from the University of Guelph, Dr. Jane Marie Mahar from Monash University in Australia, Dr. Alison Margansky from Lemoyne College in Syracuse, New York, Dr. Judy McCullough from Monash University, and Dr. Barbara Perry from the Ontario Technical University. Don't know where that is, actually. Never heard of the Ontario Technical University before. Anyway, if all of these experts, I tell you, if you stumbled on this discussion somehow, which couldn't happen because you'd have to go to the website first to get there, but if you happen to have somehow stumbled onto this discussion, you would have no real sense that it was dedicated to trying to find out something about the Nova Scotia mass casualty of April 18th, 19th, 2020. There was no reference to Gabriel Wortman, Lisa Banfield, the mass casualty in Nova Scotia, anything like that. There was no mention of any of these things. The usual kind of recommendations that we've heard from other experts on these topics. More resources, of course, needed. Public appreciation of how insidious domestic violence can be. All of these issues. the awareness about reporting, the difficulties of doing so. All of those things were kind of brought up and discussed again. We've heard these discussions before, and so it makes me think about just the structural side of this, because there's lots of work that goes into this. So there's full-time research staff, research directors at the Mass Casualty Commission. All of these academics, these professors are being compensated for their work. We don't know how much. That doesn't seem like it's been disseminated or parsed out of the budget materials from the Mass Casualty Commission sufficiently so that we know how much a discussion like today's discussion costs financially. Usually in a civil court situation, if there's a difficult issue that requires expert opinion, medical experts or experts on a particular issue where the judge wouldn't be expected to have particular specific knowledge, well, both sides typically bring in an expert, or there's an unexpert one, and then the judge uses their analytical skills to put the expertise together with the specifics of the scenario they're have to deal with, and comes up with a decision with some insight into the scenario based on the expertise. This is not how the Mass Casualty Commission seems to be proceeding. So it raised two issues for me, I guess. One is the role of the commissioners and their capabilities, or their perceived capabilities, at least when it comes to providing them with information and expertise. And the second is just the cost of this in terms of time, because there's a limited. I'll talk about that first, I guess. There's a limited number of time between now and when this report is due in November. And so every day where we're hearing another panel discussion is another day where we're not hearing from witnesses and dealing with some of the hard evidence that we could be being presented, and getting a further grasp on some of these things. So I wondered if sometimes is the goal of the commission to educate the public, and is that why they're doing so much of this expert discussion, panels, roundtables, what have you? Well, if that is the goal, I don't think it's really working, because really we've seen low public engagement on days where the focus has been at one of these discussion panels. I don't see that as hammering on the same issue day after day. I don't know whether that's having the intended effect. Other possibility, or the other suggestion, or implicit in all of this, having expert upon expert. I mean, we're not talking about two experts as you'd see in a civil trial. We've had probably more than a dozen experts, academics, talking about these domestic violence, intimate partner violence, gender-based violence issues. Important issues, of course, and they're within the commission's mandate, but are the commissioners not capable of grasping these issues? I mean, anybody that's watched one of these panels would come to some conclusions. Yes, more resources are required, more awareness, whether it's for bystanders, for police, they need some work on appreciating the connections between these issues. All right, well, we learned that, the first day we've heard experts on these topics. So is the implication that the three commissioners, presumably chosen for their expertise, and they have some expertise in, we have a former judge, former police chief, highly qualified lawyer, author, are they not capable or perceived to be capable of grasping these issues? Maybe not. So I see that as a problem, a sort of a, standing back, this is sort of a structural problem of this commission, and one that they don't seem intent on changing. So we'll see. But that is a choice, and we should all recognize that is a choice, that instead of dedicating themselves to digging into the important issues of cross-border smuggling, to talk about criminal intelligence capabilities, all of those other issues, that they're instead coming back to and just, really, having ad nauseum discussions on these issues, which are, I think, fairly clear to most people that are observing. So we'll see where that goes. So that's going to be the rest of this week, other than tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to have the foundational document presentation on the financial misdealings. We'll hear from Constable Troy Maxwell. I'll report to you afterwards on whatever relevant comes from that, and we'll see what else emerges. And all the while, we'll keep an eye on the news reports too. There's lots of articles came out over the weekend, lots of pieces on Ms. Banfield's testimony on Friday, the boycott of the parties and the participants, some of the heated exchanges of the lawyers, all of that sort of thing. So lots of articles out there, and I'll maybe talk about those a little more through the week if these panels continue to be as unenlightening as they were today. So that's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with a review of the financial misdealings foundational document, Constable Maxwell's testimony, and so that'll be that. Thank you for watching again. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.